ladies and gentlemen, thanks for having us. Thanks to Solarbaba and ICCI to organize this event. I won't take much of your time. So, can you all hear me well enough? Okay. That should be better. Some quick words about us. We've been around for a while. We're an international EPC company with our own engineering department, focused very much on solar photovoltaic energy systems worldwide. We are mainly focused on giving the best performance possible from a given location. So we try to implement systems according to best standards, industrial standards and design. And we try and implement the systems for a given location and a given consumption. So we're very focused on photovoltaics only. As it was mentioned before, there's a lot of devil in the details when designing a photovoltaic system. It's a bit of a multitasking thing that has to happen. We're not talking electrical engineering only, we're talking mechanical engineering, we're talking civil construction, we're talking roof statics, perforation of rooftops, many details to consider, many things that can go wrong. While it looks very easy at a first glance, it can go terribly wrong. We've seen that quite a lot in the past as well. So that's where we're trying to make a difference. And we also have a constant benchmarking with key manufacturers in the market, such as SMA, who are also working with. We design, we implement the systems, and we also monitor their performance once they're up and running. So the as-built performance of a system is very important. We generally try to reach a point where we outperform our promises to our customers in that regard. This is where we are. Of course, you know that we're here in Turkey. Oldest market of ours is Spain and Portugal. That's where it kind of all started for us quite a few years ago. But we've also done quite a lot of business in UK, done some systems in Italy, and United Arab Emirates is starting, and we've also have track record in Egypt and in Chile. So over those odd 20 years that I've been working in the PV sector, we've done somewhere around 850 megawatts. That's not a very big number, but if you consider the decentralization of solar and the actual individual system sizes that you use to implement, it's quite a good reference in our opinion. There's a few press releases that show our track record. We're also doing quite well this year in Turkey. We're on track to finish 3 licensed systems here in this country. And of course, I'm here to talk about industrial rooftops and the future of solar in Turkey, which we are very hopeful about, because we're hoping and aiming for industrial self-consumption. A few words about industrial rooftops. For us, what do we define as industrial rooftop is any location where an enterprise is happening and where a constant electricity consumption is prevalent. So it's not so much a seasonal thing. It should be a constant year-round consumption pattern, and it should happen during the daytime. And then it can be anything. It can be cooling warehouses, it can be production facilities, of which there are many in Turkey, and many very good and competitive manufacturers in this country that are also focused on export. They have to keep a competitive advantage. They gotta be as cheap on their production cost as possible. And of course, energy prices are a major fraction in this overall makeup. So the ideal situation is that you actually offset a lot, as much as possible, of that consumption on a specific location by going solar. Solar electricity is now becoming, or in certain locations has become, the cheapest source of electricity. So if you are able to make an investment in solar, you will medium term become more competitive than someone else that will keep buying electricity from the grid or from a utility. That is a fact. That is happening all over the world now. Solar has become mainstream over the last 3 years. Maybe it started in some locations 5 years ago. And it's a more competitive source of electricity than the one that is currently used, or the current practice is less competitive. So this is a very important thing to say here, is because solar used to be considered as something more expensive, not feasible, and so on and so forth. We've reached a point where this paradigm has changed. So if we're looking at a 24-hour consumption pattern for a solar system, then there are several options how you can do this. Of course, you have the positive load self-consumption, which is basically happening when the sun shines. Then you have several options. How large do you want the system to be? If you don't have space limitation on the rooftop, then you might go for a larger system. If then there is an option to feed the excess electricity into the grid, I will go into that a little further on. Most importantly, solar can be used in real time. It can also be stored, and it can also be shared. In a decentralized electricity grid, or in a system that can be implemented with today's technology, many things are possible that people haven't considered as an option just 2 or 3 years ago. So if we're looking at the consumption pattern, I wish I had here we are, there's a laser pointer, but it's not really working that well. But you can see the actual power curve of the solar output, and then you can see the actual load profile of that specific consumer, which is below that. So if you can export that excess power, and if you can share that with other people across the grid, that's an additional advantage. But if you're not allowed to do that, we can also dimension and build the system according to the actual load profile. So there is no reason not to go solar if you're not allowed to do net metering even, because the economics of it will still make sense. Of course, the lower the kilowatt hour price that people pay as an industry compared to the cost of the investment, the longer the amortization will be. But in the end of the day, prices for solar systems have come down fast. Electricity prices have been going up. So, of course, there's a point of critical mass here where it makes sense to go solar. And in our opinion, Turkey has crossed that line already. But that depends on the investment philosophy of individual potential customers for this technology, and not on my opinion. If we're looking at net metering, that means that in a specific scheme of things, you would be able to sell that electricity or balance your electricity bill with your overall production. There are several ways of doing that legally, of course. And then, of course, there's also the option to feed some of your excess production into a battery system, which still is a bit of a future music here with the current electricity prices, but it's becoming common practice in markets where electricity prices are higher. So whatever happens next is, 2 things are for certain in our opinion, is solar electricity prices will come down further. System costs will come down further, and there will be this point where if you don't go solar as an industry, your competitor has gone solar, he will have a lower unit price per production, energy unit price per production, so you will have to go solar. Of course, then there's still the old school grid feed-in, like the non-licensed and the licensed systems here in Turkey, but in our opinion, that's already an outdated model. more and more markets and countries are moving away from that because the cost of electricity from solar systems has dropped so much that it doesn't make sense to pay more for it. Okay. Quick example of standard rooftop systems that we've implemented over the past. As you can see, the current practice is actually just placing the module's roof parallel. You gotta be careful with perforation, but you don't have this excessive wind load issue anymore. We've done several of these systems. They're all working fine over the last few years. This one on the bottom left is the one I want to go into quickly to show you how it actually works on a self-consumption logic, which is a system in southern Portugal. It's a theme park with an aquarium and a dolphinarium, and they've got huge consumptions. So we've been taking several of their rooftop solar over the last few years. This is one of them. And it was connected about a year ago, has 115 kilowatt capacity, and the annual production as simulated down there. And if you look at the numbers here, this is Portugal, this is not Turkey, but you look at these numbers and I can tell you that 1 year from now the numbers will look like this in Turkey too. You can see the amortization period is very good. It's even less than 5 years in this case. There's a very high radiation in that area as well. And you can see how the orange graph down there is the monthly output of the solar system eating into the blue area, which is, of course, the overall consumption of this location. And so in the end of the day, the orange area is the money these people are saving. And that's how you can reach us. Thank you very much.